orders, or the brave firefighters in California who are battling flames in the middle of a pandemic, of Nevadans whose skies are blanketed with hazardous smoke, everyone in the West who is pulling all of their efforts and resources to support one another, from Washington to Oregon to California to Nevada, everywhere that we have seen. I also want to honor the efforts of two courageous pilots who died in a crash over Caliente, Nevada in July while dropping fire retardant on the Bishop Fire. David Blake Haynes and Scott Thomas lost their lives while protecting the people of Nevada. And I join all Nevadans in sharing my condolences with their families. You know, Americans are up against the brutal reality of the climate crisis. Science tells us that climate change is making the West hotter and drier and contributing to wildfires. Scientists have been sending a consistent message about climate change for the past 30 years. And the entire western United States, we have seen just some of the dire effects scientists have predicted. That's why we need federal action to slow the very clear effects of climate change. We've seen those effects in my home state of Nevada, where this year alone, almost 250,000 acres have burned so far. Since I have been in the Senate, over 2.5 million acres in Nevada have burned in tragedies like the Poville Fire, the South Sugarloaf Fire, the Range 2 Fire, and the Martin Fire, which was the state's largest fire in our history. That's why the entire Nevada delegation has worked so hard to get Nevada the resources it needs to prepare for these fires, combat them when they occur, and rebuild afterwards. We've helped get funds to the University of Nevada, Reno for its Alert Wildfire program, which uses state-of-the-art cameras to monitor the fires. We've requested that the Nevada Air National Guard gets the tools it needs to combat these fires, including C-130J aircraft that could fight fires all over the West. And yet, inexplicably, this request was turned down earlier this year. And along with my colleagues in the Senate, we have worked to pass a bill to create a permanent Forest Service contingency account so that federal agencies aren't left empty-handed when they need the money the most. Last summer, I convened the first of its kind wildfire summit in Nevada. I was honored to join our firefighters, our ranchers, our conservationists, our scientists, our power companies, and representatives of government agencies in thinking through new ways to coordinate and collaborate around how to address these wildfires. There's so much that we can do working together, from developing innovative digital platforms to monitor the fire, to funding research into restoring native plants, to helping neighborhoods plan for and adapt to fire seasons. We need to make our farms and landscapes more resilient. We need to preserve our national treasures and improve the health and well-being of those who live in our cities and rural areas alike. Because the truth is that it's not getting cooler. Anyone in Los Angeles, which saw temperatures of 120 degrees Fahrenheit this month, or in Las Vegas, which hit 113 degrees in July, can tell you that taking climate seriously shouldn't be a partisan issue. This is about safeguarding property, protecting local economies, and saving lives. Lives of first responders who have too much to do with too few resources. Lives of civilians throughout Nevada and the West frightened by what they are seeing literally in their backyards. So I plan to listen to what the scientists are telling us. I'm listening to Nevadans in places like Winnemucca and Elko, where ranchers and local officials have lived through these fires. I'm listening to Nevada's tribal leaders, whose people have been stewards of the land for millennia, and to other communities of color who are among the hardest hit when disaster strikes. And yes, I'm listening to my colleagues who have devastating stories of what's happening to their own constituents in their states right now. The climate crisis is all around us, from the wildfires we're seeing in the West to the hurricanes that we're seeing right now in the South. It is time for us to take bipartisan action, address the climate crisis, and make sure we are doing what we do best, funding short-term and long-term policies and goals to address these issues. And I look forward to working with my colleagues around this space. So thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.
Mr. President,
Senator from Illinois.
ask consent the vote that has been scheduled for 11:45 begin immediately.
Is there objection? Without objection. The question is on the nomination. Yeas and nays? Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be.